Coach Lora Erickson here. Hi, Sherry. I'm glad you joined. This is why I created this one for you, matter of fact. So I thought I could talk to you about this on Periscope. Thanks for joining. Thanks for all the others that have joined. Quite a few already. So I'm hoping this is a topic that is of interest. This is a question I get a lot. So thank you for joining. As always, you can always post other questions that I can answer in other posts, or if you have a comment on this, please put it. Also, love hearts. That tells me you're listening. If you're new to Periscope, the way that you can give hearts is tapping the screen. So that gives me hearts, and that's good. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this side stitch issue that a lot of people have. A lot of people call these stitches as well. I find that they're common, especially with beginner runners. They're pretty common. I know when I started running, I had some. I don't have them very often anymore at all. But there's, I think, some culprits or some things that cause these stitches, and sometimes people can't figure out what they are either. So it could be lots of things, and sometimes I think it's just a matter of getting used to running. So I wanted to give you some tips on that. Thank you for joining, all the others that have joined. So I wanted to start by saying I'm no doctor, so you may be experiencing abdomen pain for different reasons. So one way to distinguish like a stitch or a side cramp is obviously when you're running. If you're getting it at that point and it tends to go away when you've stopped or stopped for a while, it's probably due to running or related to running. If it seems to linger, there may be other issues there. So like I said, I am no doctor. If you are having pain and it continues, you probably need to go in and see a doctor. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And if anything, it gives you peace of mind. So I have been running. I've been a runner for 30 years, and I've been coaching for 18 years. So this is a question I get a lot. You know, side stitches, how do we deal with them? Side cramps. There are a few ways that I've found to get rid of them, but I like to talk about the reasons why we're getting them to begin with, and maybe eliminate problems to start. So one thing that I think a lot of people tie cramps to is eating. And I believe that can be a big part of it. If you are eating right before you run and you notice you keep getting cramping, then that's a problem. One thing I wanted to emphasize is make sure that you log what you're doing. I'm a big believer in logging, and so if you're logging when you're eating as opposed to your workouts, then you can start seeing trends and you can see if it really is relating to your eating, because it may not be, but it could be. So definitely foods can affect you. A lot of things I would avoid would be spicy type foods, a lot of fibrous foods. If you're having a real fibrous meal an hour before a workout and then you run really hard, you might be having cramping due to that. So gastrointestinal problems versus other things. So if you've eliminated the possibility of food issues, then we start looking at other problems. I've read a lot of different things about this topic, and I find that, I mean, let me give you the reasons that I found. And, you know, you hear that there's cramping in the diaphragm or that muscle that moves the lungs up and down. That could be part of it. It could be gas and bloating. Other problems it could be, you could have bubbles in your intestines. That could be problems as well. Honestly, in my opinion, this is gospel by Coach Lora Erickson, but I think that a lot of it is just you're not used to the jarring. Your guts are not used to jarring like they are when you first start running. And so I see a lot of people have problems with cramping more when they're going downhill or when they're just starting, like I said. And when you first start, you're not used to that jarring. And so part of the problem is, one, maybe you're not starting slow enough. Maybe you need to start with a less intensity. So walk, running, and then getting started, especially if it seems to me like some people have cramps and they have them for like a little while and then they go away eventually. So maybe that time when you're really experiencing them, just walk or start a little slower, let your body adjust. I honestly think a lot of the problem is because those guts jar around, and then it causes swelling, and then it causes pain. I think that's probably the problem. I've noticed with a lot of people, they get it in one side or the other. The stomach is going to be on your left side, and your liver is going to be on the right side. I find a lot of people get it on the right side. If it's on the right side, I think it's your liver jarring around and you're getting some swelling in there. And then I found something that's helped me when I have had cramps. I don't get them often, like I say, and I've had some of my athletes do this when we're out on a run, but I have them push on their right where it's hurting, pretty much right below the lungs or the ribs, and then I have them lean over and blow out, and then that kind of puts the pressure on the liver. I think it gets some of that fluid out. It kind of prevents some of that pain. I think that sometimes eliminates it. You do that a few times, and that can get rid of it. I've heard of a lot of other things. Put your hands, hands over your head and walk. If it is painful, too painful to run, I would say walk. Yeah, definitely walk some. Sometimes it is bad enough where people can't continue running. And I would say, again, maybe you can do other workouts on an elliptical that's not jarring as much, yet you're still getting some of that movement. And that's a little easier on the knees too, like when you're getting started. I like to alternate. I don't have my beginner runners do not run every single day. I have them alternating with other activities. And as a triathlete, I'm a big believer in cross training, and I think that's good for everything. But some of it's just going to take time to adapt for your gut to the movement, the jarring. And I think, you develop fascia and tissue, and of course your musculature gets stronger to support what you're doing with running. So other things that you can do, I think that help if it's a muscular issue with cramping, would be building your core strength. It may be that you're getting a cramp in the muscles because you're just not used to like supporting this rigorous movement for long periods of time. So core strengthening, plank, push-ups, crunches, those things are really going to be good to do. So I don't know, that's kind of my take on why people get cramping. Do you guys have some ideas? If you have some, please post them here. But I think that this is kind of the main thing. I think people are the reason they're getting stitches and things. So yeah, and definitely look at the downhill issue. So I think sometimes those medications and stuff can definitely help, especially if the cramping has to do with GI issues. And I've had a lot of people that, it's kind of uncomfortable to talk about diarrhea and things, but I've never really had that problem running. I don't really have to go very much at all, one or two, I guess. But if you do have those problems, there are medications that help eliminate having to eliminate. And I've had people utilize that in training. I think you have to be really careful with that. It can go the other direction if you take too much, and now you can't go. So you've just got to balance it out. And I think there's a lot of people that do take those medications that really help. So absolutely documenting, trying different things, because I'm a big believer in if you want to run, make it happen. And I know that sometimes I've had some clients that really have those problems. So I'll actually encourage them to run in an area where they know they can do a loop. Maybe it might even be around their block that's a little bit larger of a loop to go, and then have a place to go. Or one of the trails that I ride on a lot, there's porta potty right there. So if I did need it, it's right there. I know where it's at and I can time it. Some people tend to have the same problems at the same spot. So that's a different issue. And I guess that can cause cramping as well. There's cramping in the lower abdomen or the upper abdomen. And of course, menstrual cramping for women, sometimes that's a real problem. I found with that though, usually if you continue running, you feel better. You actually feel better. I think it just, maybe it gets the endorphins going. You're able to handle that pain a little bit better. So again, I think the thing that works the most though is if you are having that pain that's related to maybe the liver and maybe the fluids that are starting to be retained in there and swelling, is to push on that spot, dig up into the ribs and breathe out, taking all that pressure off that area, and usually that solves it. And of course, that's on the right side where the liver is. The stomach's on the left side. Not to say it can't be referred pain and you're feeling it somewhere else, but hopefully the pains don't stop you. Yeah, try it next time. It might work. I've had other people, I've read a lot of articles on this, and a lot of people are like, well, you step and then you breathe and then you do all this kind of stuff. I do have actually a YouTube post on breathing, so I've never tried the honey on the belly button before, but maybe maybe it's maybe that would work. I don't know. I have not tried that before. I think it's a muscular issue for a lot of people, at least the kind of stitches I'm thinking of. And of course, gastrointestinal, it's just a different feeling. It's it's lower too. So you kind of gotta, balance that. I think sometimes our gut handles food better than other times too. I don't know if you've ever had that sloshing where you drink something and it's like sloshing around. A lot of times when I get that, sometimes I get that, I will take something more solid before I run. Maybe a piece of bread or something to absorb some of that fluid that I have in my stomach, because that sloshing is really annoying. So I tend to tolerate pretty much everything. So you just have to know what you tolerate. It could be a fiber issue and just a timing issue. The way you're really going to know is to document. And document what kind of pain. Document, is it on both sides? Document how long it lasts. I think that's how you identify trends, and to see if it's that kind of pain. If it's really intense pain, it can be an intense pain from running and jarring. Then, if it doesn't go away, I really think that could be another problem. Bananas, I find, are probably one of the few fruits you can have before you run and not have a major problem. I think the carbohydrates and the fiber are just not as, they have more carbs and less fiber than a lot of other fruits. I find that the fruits that are usually a problem or cause gastrointestinal problems are things with fructose, which is more of your citrus fruits. And I'm always surprised that races often have like oranges on the route, and that's really high in fructose, and that can cause problems for people. I just, I don't like the thingies in my teeth, so I don't really take those they sound refreshing, but I think a lot of people, in races especially, might have these problems, their gut problems, and a lot of it's just trying new things, doing things that they aren't used to doing. Certainly, most people I don't think are used to running and having, they're not taking orange slices in their pocket. And so now they have them in a race. If you haven't practiced it, don't try something new or you're going to have problems. So, like I said, the best thing is document, see what's going on with you, start making some notes, see if you can identify trends, because it could be a food thing. It could be a breathing thing. Honestly, like I was alluding to before, I do have a breathing clip on the Blonde Runner channel on my YouTube. And so I think that if you want to check that out, a lot of people just don't breathe enough. I think they're trying to breathe in their nose and out their mouth. But I do talk about breathe in your nose and out your mouth, or in and out both. And I do have that clip, so check that out. So thanks for joining me. I just wanted to make this a simple, I don't want to make these really long. And I do put these on my YouTube channel, most of them, after their 24 hours expired here, so on Periscope, and you can check them out there. And if you're watching the repost, please tweet me. Tweet me a question. I'm happy to answer it. I've been running a long time, and I love it. I love to race, and I love to help and share things for you. Oh, that is a great question. I will definitely answer what GPS running watch that I use and why. That's a great question. I will cover that one in another Periscope, so please visit me on that. I will talk about the technology. Thanks for that idea. So, and thank you again for joining. Please watch again. If you joined late, please watch, and hopefully it will give you some helps if you're having problems with that. So, anyway, have a great night. Make it healthy.